and try them. So the first thing to note is there is actually a slight difference in colour between the two boxes. The retail one here on my right and the fake one here on my left. The fake one is also slightly damaged. It just wasn't shipped as well as the retail one was. The retail one is in pristine condition. And if we spin them around and take a look at the labels, and I'll give you a close-up of this, we can see that there are differences between the two labels here. The retail one is obviously based off a UK label and the fake one is based off a US label. So it has the US pricing on the side. So as you can see, there are slight differences in the text on the label itself. They're slightly larger and thicker on the retail one and much more cleanly printed on the retail one than the fake. But nobody really wants me to take a look at the shoes themselves. So open up the fake one first, and then I'll open up the retail one. So first difference to note, the retail one comes wrapped in Nike Sakai paper, whereas the fake one here on my left side is just plain white paper wrapped individually on the shoes. So if we open up the retail one, you can see here, the retail one, the shoes come individually wrapped in the white paper, but it has the Sakai paper over the top. And then if I look at the fake one here, you can see it just has the white paper on the top. So another thing to note while I unbox these is the fake ones actually come with a StockX tag. Obviously this is not authentic, so they have actually replicated this as well. Also comes with the StockX leaflet packaged inside and also a StockX sticker, if I can actually get that out, but yeah. Comes with all StockX branding, so it's just quite interesting to note that the fakes are doing this still. So here is your first look at a real and fake pair of the Nike Fragment Sakai waffle. Can you tell any difference between these two? So the first difference I'm going to bring up is actually on the inner side of the sole, and you can see where it has the actual LD waffle fragment text on the inner side of the sole. You can see how these are very different. So on the fake one, you can see it actually tries to curve with the sole, whereas if you look at the retail one here, you can see that the text is very straight and parallel all the way along the sole, whereas the fake one, you can see it is quite uneven. If you look at the individual letters as well, you can see that some of them are different sizes on the fake one, whereas on the retail one, every single letter in the text is exactly the same size and font, so the detail is very clear. Spinning the shoe around to the outside and looking at the text on the sole here, you can see where it says the classic Fragment Sakai. The text is very different from retail to fake. So on the retail one, you can see the text is slightly larger and bolder compared to the fake one, which the text is slightly smaller. But this is just a small difference and it's quite hard to see unless you have both pairs in hand. If you spin the shoe to the back and take a look at the heel cut material, you can see a difference here. So on the fake one, you can see that the material is slightly longer than on the retail one, so it gives it almost a messy material look. Just because of that suede being slightly longer, it just doesn't look as clean and as high quality as it does on the retail pair. It also gives it slightly a different coloured look, just because of the length on the suede at the back. The most prominent part of this shoe is the actual outer part of the heel here, which sticks out quite a bit, and it's what this shoe is pretty much known for. But there is a difference between the retail and the fake. So if I give you a close-up of this, you can see a difference. So on this part of the sole, you can see the colour is actually slightly different. On the retail one, it's very much just a pure white, whereas on the fake one, it looks kind of dirty and old and used, which is kind of weird because these are both dead stock, but the colour difference is quite clear to see. A very noticeable difference actually occurs on the front of the shoe, and if you look at the tongue labels on both of these shoes, you'll be able to see it. If I compare the retail and fake side by side here, you can see that where it has the Nike text on the first label, you can see that positionally this is very different. You can see that the Nike text is very close to the bottom of the label, whereas if I show you the fake one, you can see that the Nike text is slightly higher and there's a larger gap between the bottom of the label and the text itself. So positionally, it is actually very different from retail to fake. So one thing I have to commend the fakes on is actually the stitching quality. There is no stitching errors at all on the shoe. They've done a very good job at replicating this. Another very subtle difference to note actually occurs on the inner side. So if you look at the inner side and look at the swoosh, and I'll give you a close-up of this here, you can see that on the retail one, there's a much larger gap for the material beneath the swoosh, whereas if you look at the fake one, you can see it's much lower down, so positionally it's just slightly wrong compared to the retail one. On the outer side, however, they've got the swoosh placement exactly right, and the shape of the swoosh is pretty much exactly the same as well, so they've done a really good job of this. The next thing we're going to take a look at is actually the inner side paper. So on the retail one, you can see they've gone for a darker shade of paper, whereas on the fake one, you can see they've gone for that white paper, so there is a clear difference between the two when they are dead stock and you actually take these out.